What's up guys, today we have Luke on the show, a blue belt that as usual, I'm going to smash for your entertainment and education, so let's get started. We start off grip fighting and Luke wins the battle for inside position. This gives him access to my hips and creates a barrier in the way of me getting to his hips. Instead of fighting for improved grips, I just pull guard to a wrestle up. A guard pull essentially is just a level change, and something I mix in often with my wrestling to keep my opponent guessing. I start off with good head position but hang out there too long and Luke snatches up my neck. Immediately I look up to relieve myself of the pressure of the guillotine. And by the look on my face, you can tell I'm taking this as a serious threat. I get his arm out from underneath my neck and immediately duck under to start working for a body lock. But Luke is spinning away trying to avoid that, which works out great for me as that continuous motion creates a lot of vulnerability for different takedowns. And I hit the slick trip by tripping out his leg and pushing his upper body forward. I let go of him so he can land as safe as possible without having to worry about me landing on top of him. I make sure he's okay and we get back to it. Again, he's got inside position, both his feet are on the inside of my legs. This is bad for me because it gives him access to my hips. He might use it to enter X guard, single leg X, or enter leg locks. So I bring my knees together and push his heels into his butt. This does two things. It gives him less space to get to my hips, and his butterfly hooks become weaker when they're pressed up against his butt. I would do the same thing if I were passing from my knees. I attempt an X pass by pushing his knee down as I backstep, but I wasn't able to pin his hips before he could regard. If I were able to get my shin to his belly quickly, I could pin his hips and take away his mobility. He starts to look to take my back, but I'm not worried. I know I just need to keep his knees in front of my hips. That way, my hips stay out of his lap. Right now they're on his lap, which is keeping me safe. And I just need to get one of his legs between my legs so I can start attacking a leg lock. I need to entangle his legs for a leg lock. But he recognizes the threat and explodes out of it. Again, if I had better control of his hips, he wouldn't have been able to escape. I'm now in side control and I take what I call a reverse underhook, which is basically where you take an underhook with your head facing toward their butt rather than their head. Reverse underhooks are especially great for back takes and truck entries, and it's what I taught in this Jiujitsu retreat. I taught it using the constrained sled approach, which is basically using games to teach Jiu-Jitsu rather than static drilling. I've been teaching using games for almost a year and a half now, and I'm a big believer that it's the optimal way to use class time. I'm hunting for the twister. I just need to get his hand underneath my head so I can reach under his head and connect my hands together. One thing about twisters is that you need to be careful who you do them on, as sometimes people get mad. One time I went to another gym's grading and went on a twister spree, and I found out after they all thought I was an asshole. So now I'm a little bit more mindful about them. A little bit of pressure is all you need. You definitely don't want to crank a twister as it attacks the spine. If you train Jiu-Jitsu, then you already know that there's nothing worse than gassing out or getting cramps. That used to happen to me way more than I like to admit before dialing in my hydration. Not just drinking more water, but hydrating properly. And that's where Element came in. Element is a zero sugar electrolyte drink mix that completely changed the game for me. It's packed with the electrolytes that your body needs: sodium, potassium, and magnesium, without all the junk that's in regular sports drinks. No sugar, no food coloring, no BS. When I started drinking Element, I noticed way less cramps in training and way more energy during the day. And right now they have a limited time flavor, lemonade salt. It's salty and refreshing, perfect for summertime training. You can mix it into your water bottle before class or even into your iced tea if you want something a little bit different. Lemonade salt is available for a limited time only, so get yours while supplies last. And the best part is that you can try it risk-free. If you don't like it, Element will send you your money back. No questions asked. And because you're part of my Jordan Teaches Jiu-Jitsu crew, you can receive a free sample pack with any Element order. Get yours at drinkelement.com/JordanTeaches. This deal is only available through my link. You must go to drinkelementT.com/JordanTeaches. We start again, and I let Luke take an underhook so I can take an overhook. I attempt an inside trip, not because I wanted to actually land it, but because I wanted Luke to respond by driving back into me so I can hit an Uchimata. A takedown that is significantly easier to do when your opponent is driving into you. I wasn't able to lift his hips up enough to take his foot off the mat, so I finished by again tripping him with my foot. I land in his butterfly guard, but it's not very threatening because I have him pinned on his back. This takes away the majority of his offense, and now I'm just looking to position a leg or both legs in front of his knee. But I play it a little bit too loose and careless, and Luke makes space to free his leg for close guard. I've regressed my position, but I stand up right away to break his close guard. I just have to be careful of him grabbing my ankles and pushing me back, as I don't have control of either of his arms. Right away, I'm trying to make space between his hips and mine. And now I've made enough space to more easily insert my knee in the middle. Now I can use that frame to more easily make more space to pry open his guard. I fall down because he was actually holding me up with this close guard. I could work for a leg entanglement from here, but overall, I prefer other submissions over leg locks. Look how I switch my hips here to deal with his guard retention. This keeps my legs and hips far away from his, and gives me greater ability to control his legs with my arms. I think that switching of the hips is an underutilized tool by beginners and intermediate grapplers. This is pretty cool. I let Luke turn to his knees so I can take his back as he does. Generally in Jiu-Jitsu, you either want to prevent movement from your opponent or let them move if you have a plan to capitalize on it. Luke seemed a bit too preoccupied with preventing my hook from coming in, which is a smart thing to do overall. However, the immediate threat here is his neck, and likely in this specific scenario, he would have been better off fighting my hands rather than my hook. Right now, I'm deliberately pushing into Luke as I want him to push back and give me forward momentum. Because I have inside position with both my arms and my head, the risk of him using my pushing against me is pretty low. Once I feel him push back, I shoot my shot, attempting a fireman's throw. But he hooks my arm for the crucifix, which is a risk when you go for fireman throws. Two things that would have helped me be more successful is timing it better when he's pushing back into me more, and dump him as soon as possible before he could hook my arm. I whipped my arm out as fast as humanly possible to avoid being crucifixed. Although I failed the takedown, I knew the risks, and it was worth the attempt at getting my style points. I go right back to work, splitting his guard, meaning positioning one of my legs between his two legs. I then quickly drop my hips down to smash Luke's knees together and then backstep to pass. This would have been harder to do if Luke had held on tighter to my ankle, but I am bigger and it was very slippery with all the sweat. My right arm is monitoring his hips. I don't want him to lift them up for a buggy choke or triangle, and I don't want him shrimping out to make space. And my other arm to control his head. However, using one arm to control his hips occupies my arms for control, making it harder to get offense going. So I pop up to knee on neck. A knee on belly controls the hips, whereas knee on neck controls the shoulders. Not everyone likes it, so it's something I mostly do on people I consider friends, and I would have no issue with someone doing it back to me. However, I do feel a little bit bad, so I let up and try to lift him up to expose his back for a back take, but no luck. This sequence really shows my current style of passing. I like to dive right in and get something in front of their knee as soon as possible. Once you're in front of the knee, you have control of the hips. And when you have control of the hips along with the shoulders, you're in control of your opponent, which is again evident here as I tripod up and place my feet on his hips to again keep his hips in my control. Although I could have controlled his hips in other ways, such as mount, knee on belly, or side control. But sometimes I like to mess around. I transfer my legs from his hips to his shoulders so I can attack upper body submissions. I cover in detail the relation and importance of controlling hips and shoulders in my Jiu-Jitsu theory course, so check that out if you want to learn about that and other important stuff. But basically, this is what you're doing in Jiu-Jitsu, attacking what's in front of the hips and or shoulders to gain control of the hips and or shoulders, so you can then re-attack what's in front of them. And here I finish with the triangle armbar, which relied upon me anchoring my hips to his shoulders. Here I'm dead tired. I had rolled and filmed so many rounds that week, and filming requires so much extra energy because I gotta be on my game. Not just for ego reasons, but because I try my best to make sure that the rolls are exciting and full of variety. And people often come at me harder than usual on camera, which I appreciate and very much encourage. Because if they don't try, then it's boring, and I won't be able to use the roll. Again, I attempt a fireman's throw and again I fail. This would have been a much worse predicament in the gi where there's more friction because again I use sweat to my advantage and whip my arm out as soon as possible. Again, look how I smash my knees together by driving my hips into his knees and then backstepping. This time he's doing a great job of keeping his right instep hooked onto my leg, which is why I'm battling it with the instep of my left foot. I win the battle but overcommit switching my hips, mostly because I'm not really trying to be perfect here, I'm more so just being playful. I expose my back in the process and immediately quad pod to stay safe. If he jumps on my back, he risks falling off with the ramp that I've created here. And while he figures out what to do next, I use that hesitation against him and front roll into a leg entanglement, which is very reminiscent of the last time I competed, which speaking of, I'm hoping to compete again soon. Lately, I've been in a good place physically and mentally, and I'm ready to get back to it. I control Luke's toes so I can control his rotation. I have both his hips and foot controlled to finish the heel hook. Just like breaking a stick, you need to control both ends of the stick, which is the same for submissions in Jiu-Jitsu. Alright, thank you for sticking around till the end of the video. If you're still here, please leave a comment or a fist bump, and I'll see you guys next time.